Happy doubleheader Sunday. What's going on, guys? Hope you're having a great one. We are here for our first of two live streams today. Of course, I was not here last night to watch or review WWE Payback, so we're here to do that now. I thought the show was really good, even though the card, I think, was one of the more underwhelming pay-per-view cards of the year so far in WWE. Same goes for tonight's AEW All Out. The talent came through, just like I said in my predictions. For both companies, it's going to be up to the wrestlers to go out there and give us a good show. They did that last night for WWE, specifically that tag team championship match, which was just insane. And Becky and Trish doing exactly what I predicted they would do in the predictions. They went out there and they showed Triple H that he was an idiot for bumping them off the SummerSlam card. And I think they both had something to prove, and they did. One of the best women's steel cage matches, if not the best I've ever seen. And it was pretty awesome that that's the first time Trish has ever been in one of these, and she performed at that level. That's Shawn Michaels, Hell in the Cell level stuff right there, getting in there, doing that for the first time and coming through like that. Both women, Becky and Trish, did a phenomenal job, and I absolutely loved that match last night. And the card, really from top to bottom, was very, very solid. We had some good moments. We had the return of Jey Uso last night as well, doing something else that I predicted weeks ago, right when he quit. I said, send him to Raw. If the plan is to do Jey and Jimmy at WrestleMania, you got to kill some time. Jay's not just going to stay off TV for the whole year like some people were suggesting he do. I'm like, of course not. Move him to Raw. Done deal. And that's exactly what they did. Jey will be appearing on Monday Night Raw going forward, and it looks like we might be setting up for a War Games match at Survivor Series if that is the plan. We definitely have some components there with the Judgment Day being very, very strong coming out of Payback last night, and a whole bunch of good baby faces piling up on that side as well with Owens, Zayn, Cody, now Jey Uso. So they might be doing War Games. I'd rather have that than the supremacy bullshit, champion versus champion stuff. So we will see. But Payback last night was very good, so we are going to be here to review that right now. And we are going to follow up on yesterday's blockbuster news, breaking news, huge news of CM Punk's AEW firing. Luckily, this news came early on in the day. I had time to get up here and do an hour-long live stream about it. So if you didn't see our CM Punk is fired stream yesterday, check that out. It's on the channel right now. But we came up yesterday and talked about that really in a general sense, because the only thing we knew at the time of doing the video yesterday was the statement that AEW released on Phil's firing. And that was before Collision even aired. And last night, Tony Khan appeared in front of the audience before Collision went on the air, I believed, and tried to talk to them. And then he also appeared on camera as well, explaining to the fans what happened. We saw a couple of other tidbits happen last night on Collision, and we're also going to talk about some other news that we've learned since yesterday. So thanks to everybody who joined us yesterday for that. You can check us out if you want to hear all my initial comments on Punk's firing. Today, we're going to elaborate a little bit more on that, which we'll start with that first, talk a little bit more about CM Punk and the circumstances surrounding his termination in AEW, and then after that we will get into WWE Payback. What you guys can do in the meantime over here in the chat is give me your grades for Payback, A, B, C, or D, 1 through 10. I think the show was pretty good. I'm going to give it a B+. I thought it was fantastic, and the matches were really, really exciting. I think it was only a 6-match card. It was nice, condensed. It was quick. It was an easy watch, and I loved it. Loved the show. Watched it late last night when I got home from work and made my notes, and here we are ready to rock and roll on Payback. All Out Sunday, reviewing Payback. Let's say hi to anybody that may be hanging out here in the chat. Probably going to be a low audience this afternoon. Hopefully we'll have a higher one for later, which is going to be our All Out Watch Along. I want you guys to join us for this, our watch party. We're going to be taking a little hour and a half, 2-hour break right after this podcast, and then we will be live to watch AEW All Out together, and I'm going to do this just for the main card, not the 0 hour, so just about 10 minutes before the main card starts, you can join us right here on YouTube. The link is on my channel. I don't believe I put one in the description, but if you just click on my channel, you'll see it right there, front and center. Join us tonight, kick back, hang out, and I'm sure we can do a lot more talking about CM Punk and some of the circumstances around his firing and how AEW is going to pull off this pay-per-view tonight in Chicago that did have a nice surprise of Bryan Danielson being added to the mix. He's going to be actually replacing CM Punk in that strap match against Ricky Starks tonight at All Out. They set that up on Collision last night as a really nice surprise. So join us later. We're going to be watching AEW All Out 2023 together. I just need to go over to BR Live and purchase that damn thing. 2 pay-per-views back-to-back from AEW. Not a fun $100 to spend, but a necessary one nonetheless. Good to see Stone Cold 10X, my friend Zane G, and Jeff McMahon rounding out some early channel members. We also have Nikita Abalakan. We have Isaac. All right, y'all are the only channel members in here right now. Got some B's in there from Thomas and David and Jay Lambo. Good to see Nate Dogg, Ahmed, Rodrigo, David Brown, like I said, in the house. Big J, so happy you're here. Good to see Michelle and Sonu as well. And Tomas, my buddy, thank you so much, dude. Appreciate the $9.99 from you. It's been really nice joining you live this week. Yeah, you have been here for the last few streams, haven't you, Tomas? I quit my job last week due to mental health, but I start my new job next week. Thanks for being here while I go through this, Greg. Absolutely, Tomas. Best of luck to you. If a job is ever weighing on you mentally, get out of there. You did that. Happy for you. Hopefully your new job begins positively, and hopefully you found a much better place to be. Pulling for you, man, and thanks for being here as always. We have 10 coming in from Luke, our friend Luke McAllister. Thanks, dude. Hey, Greg, great Payback show, especially the cage match and street fight. Yeah, that's what I just said. As a CM Punk fan, AEW made the right call in firing him after Brawl In. Amazing that I was in attendance for his last match in AEW. Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, it might go down as his last match ever. I doubt it, but the fact that he's leaving AEW with a big win over a legend in front of 80,000 people, I guess there's worse ways to go out, right? I've only seen CM Punk wrestle once ever in person, once. And that one time he won the AEW title, beating Hangman Page at Double or Nothing a year and a half ago in Vegas. So that's pretty cool that you saw his last match ever. It's a pretty sad situation, though, at the end of the day, with everything going on with him and AEW. Good to see Victor Colon and Nick Musser, more channel members. We also have Naveed, Aaron Gothier, Diet Water up in here. Right on. Good to see you guys. Oh, damn, Victor. Best of luck to you. Don't know if you can watch All Out tonight. Woke up with 102 fever. Damn. Well, best of luck to you. Keep monitoring that. You know, you get up a couple more degrees there, maybe go see a doctor. Best of luck to you, Victor. Hope you shake that off and you're able to watch as much wrestling as you can tolerate tonight, you know? Right on. Okay, well, let's get into some stuff here because we don't want to waste too much time this afternoon. Not a whole lot of time for bullshitting. We got plenty of time for bullshitting later when we're doing our watch party of All Out. But today we need to talk a little bit about CM Punk and what has transpired since yesterday when AEW made the official announcement of his termination. And we will get into kind of some of that. Now, the only kind of new information that we got, there's a big write-up from Fightful Select that we got yesterday that I'll read here in a second. But some of the other details about CM Punk's firing, a big one that came out yesterday that we learned was that apparently, this is just according to sources, apparently there was actually a meeting scheduled for, I think, this week with Tony Khan, CM Punk, and the Elite to finally have a meeting and to finally hash things out. And this is a meeting that should have happened a year ago, but whatever, it's happening now, or apparently it was scheduled to happen. And apparently it was called off at the last minute by the Elite. So that just whole story, that sentence right there is just crazy to me, because if you're Tony Khan and you're saying, hey, I'm calling a meeting with you guys, my employees, you can't back out of it. You have to be there. I wouldn't be able to just call my boss and say, I don't feel like doing that meeting, fuck off. No, you have to go to the meeting. So it's just like, why? I mean, I guess they're EVPs. Maybe they have a little bit more say than other people, and maybe they can refuse to do stuff. I don't know. But whatever happened between the time of the meeting being scheduled and the meeting, something happened, and the Elite apparently didn't want to do it. This is all just hearsay and just speculation. But apparently that might have also been something that led to CM Punk's frustration, because according to Punk's side, he's been wanting to hash things out, and the Elite just haven't been wanting to do that for whatever reason. So if that added to his already existing frustration, which was already at an all-time high for him, seems like it's been for the past year, and then you have that Jungle Boy incident happen, and then it just boils over, and CM Punk might have just said, just F it, just self-destructed, knowing that there could be consequences, you know, for going after Jungle Boy, and this lunging at Tony Khan that apparently happened with monitors falling and all of that, and a video of this whole thing apparently exists of the confrontation and all of that. And maybe that was Punk just, maybe in the back of his mind, subtly, subconsciously or whatever, he just knew, let's just get out of here. Let's just create so much damn commotion. They got no choice but to fire me. And I think it was getting to the point in CM Punk's head, knowing who he is and knowing what we know about him, he probably has gotten to the point where he was just like, fuck this place. I just want to go. And sounds like he's got his wish now. So that meeting with the Elite being scheduled and then canceled is just disappointing, because I'm not on anybody's side here. I do believe Punk had to go, but I think, the Elite played a fair role in this as well. Everybody did. Everybody was idiots here. And if they did decide that they don't want to have this meeting, that's stupid because Punk is here. Punk works there. And up until yesterday, it didn't feel like he was going to be going anywhere. So it would be in the Elite's best interest for the company that they work for the company that they are executive vice presidents of, to work things out with this one guy. And the fact that you're willing to sacrifice all of that and potential damage to the company just because you can't get along with somebody is fucking crazy when I think about it, because this isn't even something that I would allow to happen in my restaurant, much less a multi-million-dollar corporation with millionaire wrestlers running around there. I'm talking about just servers and busboys and shit. I wouldn't allow that stuff to happen. And the fact that Tony Khan is letting this happen at such a high level is really, really crazy. And it's disappointing and sad that nothing was ever able to get worked out and these parties were not able to come together and hash things out. Maybe the Elite felt like it wasn't worth it. Hey, even if we work things out in a meeting, who's to say it's all not going to crumble again? Maybe they have such little trust in Punk and his reputation that it's not worth it to them. I don't know. Who knows what the reasons were, but that is an interesting tidbit of news that we learned after CM Punk's firing. Also, yesterday, something that Tony Khan did was, number one, he addressed the audience before Collision started. Right before, I haven't even watched all of Collision yet. I've watched some of it, but I think it was right before the show went on the air. He came up, much like he did last year after All Out, and announced the suspensions. He tried to be transparent. He tried to just face the fans and said, I had to make a very difficult decision firing CM Punk. He let everybody know what the situation was. And this was the same basic speech that he tried to give to the live audience in the United Center before Collision went on the air. He tried to come out and actually talk to them. He's from the Chicago area. He's trying to, be transparent about this issue, talk to the fans, face them, and they are just booing the shit out of him to the point where he even sits in a chair, and just tries to say, look, I know you're disappointed. I did not want to have to make this decision. And the whole thing was just ugly, and they were just booing the shit out of him, but that's what you can expect. It's not like he went into, Portland, Oregon and got this reaction. He was in Chicago. And that, for all the people that say Tony Khan needs to wear his big boy pants, well, he's wearing his big boy pants now. And the little fella has got some balls. He didn't wait until after the weekend, get CM Punk in, tell him it's okay, have him lose a match to Ricky Starks, and then release him on Monday. No, he terminated and fired CM Punk just hours before a show in Punk's own hometown and just 24 hours before a pay-per-view in his hometown, both of which he was likely scheduled to appear at. And he went out there and he let him go right before that, knowing the backlash it could get, knowing the effect it could have on his pay-per-view buy rate and on his ratings for Collision, because bringing in Ricky Steamboat and Dennis Rodman wasn't going to be enough to make up for that, and it really wasn't, although Danielson was. So knowing that and being willing just to say this is what we have to do and make this decision, which he even said in his statement was his decision and his decision alone, although when he was talking to the camera before Collision, what the audience at home saw, he did say that it was recommended by a disciplinary committee in AEW. And he said for the first time, he goes, I've been attending shows for 30 years. I've been promoting shows for over 4. I've never once felt like my life was in danger or my safety was in danger or the safety of my staff and, my company was in danger until last night. And a lot of people were, crying bullshit or whatever. Well, why would that be something that he would just make up in a situation like this? Because a termination of this degree, there could still be some lingering lawsuits and all of that. As a matter of fact, in the statement when it said he was terminated with cause, apparently if you were terminated with cause, that actually means that they do not have to pay you any remaining residuals on your contract or anything. You are just cut off right there at the head, which implies that there probably is no compete clause in there if they've just severed ties completely with that with cause. I think that's kind of what that means. But Tony Khan also said that he sought the legal advice of his lawyers and, committees and all of that. So there was footage of this. There must have been enough evidence in that footage that Tony Khan felt comfortable delivering that line, because that's something that you might want to clear with legal or lawyers, because if he's implying that CM Punk came after him and put his life in danger and nothing like that happened, then you're going to court, just like CM Punk did with the Doctor, just like CM Punk did with Colt Cabana, and everybody else he's had relationships crumble with. They always wind up in court. So I don't think Tony Khan would just say anything that his lawyers advised him maybe not to say or you shouldn't say. And that had a big part to do with CM Punk's termination, was the fact that all of that commotion was started backstage and people could have gotten hurt. I mentioned that in my all-in review. All we knew was there was a confrontation, and one of my biggest problems was, hey, what if somebody did get hurt, like CM Punk? What if he broke his ankle during that commotion? And then his music's playing and he's got to go out there in front of 80,000 people and he can't work. What are you going to do now? This is your biggest show ever, and look at the way you're starting out. So that was a big ordeal backstage, an extremely unprofessional, one that shouldn't have happened, one that Jack Perry started, but it sounded like CM Punk finished. And CM Punk's reaction to what Jack Perry did was enough to, for them to have grounds for just a full-on termination there. And that's what Tony Khan tried to tell the audience. He did look he's got those big wide eyes and he just kind of sits there like a deer in the headlights sometimes, but you can tell this is not something he wanted to do. Sounds like Tony Khan was trying his best to do whatever he could to keep CM Punk around until it just became clear that that wasn't going to be possible. And for him to do that, and to have the balls to do that right before a couple of big shows in Chicago and going out in front of the crowd before Collision aired and trying to tell them this, knowing that he's going to get shit on, it reminded me a lot of when Vince McMahon went into Bret's locker room after the screw job. He knew he was going to get punched, but he went in there to own up to it. I'm the one that did this. He wanted to make it clear to Bret that he did it and no one else. And Tony Khan doing the same thing, going out there saying, I'm the one that made this decision. I didn't want to have to do it. I know it disappointed you, some of you, a lot of you. I'm very sorry about that, but I had to do it, trying to be transparent, trying to just be a man and own up to the decision that he made, knowing that he's not going to be warmly received by this audience. He's going to be booed and booed loudly, just like Vince knew he was going to get punched and punched hardly by Bret Hart, and he took it because he's a man. That's not what cowards do. Just go right in and say, all right, I know, you gotta hit me, just do it. And I feel like Tony Khan went out there and took like a figurative punch from the audience just with all of their booing. And, that's good on him for going out there and doing that. Now, one can make the argument, as I have over the past couple of streams, that had Tony Khan had this leadership, had his big boy pants on the whole time, and been a little bit more of a boss to these people and have a zero tolerance policy for any bullshit, then maybe we would have not gotten to this point. Had Tony Khan been the proper leader he needed to be a year ago, we might have everybody on the same page right now, and Punk might be back in the company and no danger of being fired. But when Tony Khan tried to let these people who hate each other coexist in a locker room without hashing anything out, it was only a matter of time before it happened again, and it happened again, and it happened right on AEW's biggest show of all time, a show that's going to be very, very difficult for them to top, and this will probably go down as their biggest show ever, and now they're always going to have to remember it for this, and it sucks. So none of this is good news at all. It's still just really, really sad, but at the end of the day, I'm kind of in agreement with the decision because it's probably just best for the company to move on. And like we talked about yesterday, let the WWE speculation run wild, because I think there's actually a really good chance we might see Phil back in WWE based on how everything ended in AEW, but we will see. If I'm in WWE, I don't want his presence in the locker room, but I also think WWE's locker room isn't as unstable as AEW's, because they do have leadership. They do have a system and a formula. That place is a machine. So they are probably much better at managing situations, quarrels, tiffs, arguments, whatever. It's probably just a better system there for that type of stuff to happen. And maybe CM Punk can kind of be contained in a system like that where he knows he's not going to be able to just do whatever the hell he wants. He's not going to be able to sit next to Triple H at a media scrum and curse out all members of WWE management and the board members and all of that. That's not going to happen. And maybe that's why Punk could actually work there. We will see. But anyway, let's talk about what Fightful Select reported yesterday. Here's a report from them following up on CM Punk's firing. This was a few hours after we got the news. Here's what Fightful said yesterday. AEW announced that CM Punk was terminated both as a wrestler and an employee. AEW founder Tony Khan said the decision was one he didn't want to have to make, but needed to do it for the safety of the AEW team. While it was noted the termination was with cause, thus far we do not know if there is a non-compete attached or severance or a severance period. As a result, we don't know when Punk would be eligible for a move to another wrestling company. He still has major heat with numerous top names in WWE and was asked to leave earlier this year when he showed up. There had been no real expectations or plans of Punk heading to WWE, and most people we spoke to there didn't think he was going to be fired. The AEW roster, including several that were close to Punk, did not know as of Saturday that Punk was set to be fired. There was an investigation throughout the week in which saw a disciplinary committee informed of the findings. We don't know who comprised that committee, but we'd heard of many people within the company being interviewed. Tony Khan spoke about the situation before Collision to the live crowd in a manner in which had many people questioning things. He appeared sitting in a chair and said many things that he would go on to say in a pre-recorded statement at the top of the show. Notably, that outside legal counsel and the disciplinary committee both recommended he terminate CM Punk's contract. Khan said he feared for his safety and life in the situation, which matches up with word that he was in plain sight of Jack Perry and the Punk confrontation. It does. And a lot of people have been saying that Khan was there. Sounds like he was. There was also word that Punk lunged in his direction. When Fightful asked Tony Khan this week about whether or not Punk had a confrontation with him earlier that day, as rumored, he largely avoided the question and defended the booking. The crowd booed Tony Khan heavily at the start, and much of the crowd turned to his side by the end. Regarding the Miro vs. CM Punk aspect, Punk had seemed genuinely confused regarding that making the rounds. Miro and Punk supposedly spoke about it midweek and had a laugh about the word that they had issues. Punk and Miro had maintained a good relationship, with Punk pushing for Miro to be on Collision. Punk had expressed unhappiness verbally numerous times, from the all-out post-show scrum to saying, "I hate this place," to the fight with Jack Perry. Punk had been slated to main event All Out in a strap match with Ricky Starks. That was adjusted to Bryan Danielson in a huge surprise that was kept very secret within the company up until the show. Pro Wrestling Torch reported that AEW was confident that their alternative plan would work out really well. We've heard that there are also ongoing discussions between AEW and Warner Brothers Discovery about the on-screen direction of AEW Collision. Security was confiscating CM Punk signs ahead of the show, which was to be expected. Up until the end, we heard no real progress on Punk working with the Elite, though he'd claimed to Fightful and others backstage that he still wanted to get in a room and talk with them and make something work. Now, that is something we've heard multiple times that seems to be consistent, is that Punk wants a meeting. They do not. We've heard that multiple times. Fightful reached out to Punk but haven't heard back, blah, blah, blah. For those asking if it's a work, the numerous AEW sources we've spoken to claim it isn't. AEW hasn't commented on that specific question in any capacity. We'll have a lot more on this. So no, it's not a work. However, I mean, I've been saying no and nothing's a work whenever fans say it's a work. But when you look at just the absolute perfect timing of everything, I mean, if AEW did want to take this situation and make a crazier work out of it, you know, maybe it's just a coincidence that Jack Perry and Punk had their matches so close together to where something like that happened, a confrontation was able to take place. If Punk was semi-main event, he would have been on the other side of the building when Jack Perry made that comment, and they probably would have gotten in a fist fight in the locker room before Punk's match anyway. So either way, we were going to get a fight out of this thing, but the fact that it happened right there at Gorilla in front of Tony Khan, shit falling on him, and apparently Punk even lunging at Tony Khan, enough to make Tony Khan say publicly that he feared for his safety, means that something definitely happened. This is not a lie. There is video of this. So if Tony Khan is going to say something like that publicly, and it's not true, then you're talking lawsuits and all of that. So we will see where it all goes. It's a crazy situation, but yeah, Punk is gone. And I think much like Payback last night, talent really coming through and delivering a solid pay-per-view. I think we're going to see the same thing from All Out tonight. A lot more matches on the show tonight, but pretty good ones. Danielson coming in as a placeholder for Punk, a replacement for Punk, I think is perfect. I love Bryan Danielson. I wish the guy had another 15 years left. It's sad to know that he's kind of near the tail end of his career because he's the exact locker room opposite of Punk. He is well liked. He's well respected. He's not abrasive, angry, always pissed off, never getting in arguments with people. He's liked, beloved by just about everybody he comes into contact with. And he just doesn't seem to have the personal issues that CM Punk has with everybody. And he's the one that last year, a year ago, I was, when Punk left and we were trying to figure out who the AEW champion should be, I was the one saying Danielson, but they went back to Moxley instead. But I thought it should have been Danielson. I did. And now Danielson's in here again for CM Punk. It's impossible to boo Danielson. Smart move by AEW, having him be the one to work with Starks because Danielson is beloved by everybody, even people who are CM Punk fans. Punk and Danielson are cool from what we understand. Excuse me, I was doing this yesterday too. Just kind of coughing. My bad. One interesting thing that did take place on Collision last night, by the way, I didn't watch the whole show, but I saw the Danielson Starks segment in the ring with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. By the way, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat did not come out to the Alan Parsons Project like I was hoping he would do in the United Center. Tony Khan was too busy to pony up for that money. No big deal. You got other shit on your plate right now. TK, I understand. We also saw Dennis Rodman on the show. It was just a complete letdown, just ridiculous. He's out there with the Acclaimed, and he's going to be in their corner. I guess they've added the Acclaimed against and Billy Gunn against the House of Black on the 0 hour, I think. Or is it House of Black? Who the hell are they facing? And they're going to be on the 0 hour, and Dennis Rodman is going to be in their corner. So we've got that. Or no, maybe it's against Jarrett. Is it against Jarrett and his boys? Is that what happened last night? So that match is happening on the 0 hour, and Dennis Rodman is going to be in the corner of the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass, and that should be stupid. So they did that. But also we saw, I think it was the main event, Jay White defeated Dax Harwood one-on-one. So that makes me change my prediction for tonight. I predicted that Bullet Club Gold would beat FTR and the Bucks, but since Jay White beat Dax last night, I actually think FTR and the Bucks are going to win this match. So I think, not that it matters, but I am changing my prediction in that 8-man tag to the Bucks and FTR based on the finish of that match last night. But what was really interesting was that after Collision went off the air, Matt Jackson takes a victory lap in the ring right in front of the Chicago crowd. I know some people get pissed about that stuff. I don't. You don't think for one fucking second that CM Punk wouldn't do the same thing? Now, there's no winners in this situation, only losers. Everybody lost. Tony Khan lost, AEW lost, the Elite lost, Punk lost, the fans lost. Everybody lost. There was no winners in this situation. But both of these sides, whatever these sides consider winning to be, if it would have gone the other direction and CM Punk would have achieved something that he would have felt like was a victory, like maybe if the Bucks didn't re-sign with AEW and they chose to leave and go to WWE, you don't think that fucker would run around the ring and do the exact same fucking thing? Of course he would. So if you're mad and butthurt about Matt Jackson, get over yourself. CM Punk would have done the same thing. He pretty much did. When he came back and called him out, counterfeit Bucks, there's your receipt, Punk. There's your counterfeit Bucks receipt right there. He just ran around the ring. That's it. So it was kind of funny watching people get all uppity about that on social media. I'm like, will you please just lighten the fuck up, please? There are been a couple of people, I'm not going to name any names, that I'm really laughing at on Twitter because up until this point, I've always viewed these people as rational, as fair, as, as mature, but they are clearly not on the side of the Elite. And to watch them kind of be a little bit irrational is kind of funny when you've seen nothing but rationality from them. But you can tell some people have a very strong dog in this fight. Some people don't. And I just thought that was fucking funny to run around the ring and do a victory lap. Yay, see you later, Phil. because if the same thing had happened and Phil would have stuck around and the whole elite would have been kicked out of there, he would have been running around the ring celebrating, and we would have been like, yeah, what the fuck? You just lost 3 great wrestlers all because you guys couldn't get along. So nobody is a winner here. Nobody should be celebrating anything. But based on what we know of all of these parties and the shots they've been taking at each other, I'm sorry. As much as I love CM Punk, I cannot feel sorry for him when things like this happen. When Matt Jackson runs around the ring, what the fuck do you expect? You're shooting off at the mouth every chance you get. Counterfeit bucks and Hangman Pages and selling fucking action figures and the fucking scrum and all this crap. You're going to get some of it back. So I don't know why Punk feels like he can do whatever he wants and take any shots that he wants. But boy, you give it back, I can't take it. It was one of the first lessons I learned as a kid. If you can dish it out, you need to be able to take it. And wrestling Twitter is very, very bad at that. And I think the Elite and CM Punk are kind of bad at that too. But if you want to be able to give it, you got to be able to take it. And you can't be a pussy-ass bitch snowflake about it either, So if you're mad about Matt's victory lap, suck it up. It's not that big a deal. Anyway, that kind of does it on the latest with AEW CM Punk Collision. We're going to be talking more about that in just a little bit when we return for our, what is it? Watch Party, All Out Watch Party. Join us for the main card here in about 2.5 hours. We're going to be going live for that. But before we do, we have to review WWE Payback from last night. Let's do that. Before we do, let's get to some super chats like this one from, where'd it go? Oh, I got a few. There's Luke. Good to see you. And by the way, I want to shout out, he's probably not here. I want to shout out from yesterday, Indiana Minotaur. We had a pretty big audience for the CM Punk stream yesterday. And as I was going through the super chats after the fact, I realized that I missed one from Indiana Minotaur. He sent in $10 yesterday. And I want to read this. He's probably not here, but in case you are Indiana, just want to say I'm sorry for missing that yesterday. Here's what you said yesterday. If CM Punk goes somewhere else, he really needs to change his overall attitude and mentality. He needs to recognize it's a me problem first, or he won't be able to go anywhere. Well, I kind of agree, and that's what I said about him going to WWE. I think that, his behavior isn't going to be able to fly there. There will be no situation where he's sitting next to Triple H during a media scrum and he goes off on a profanity-laced tirade on executives in the company. That's not going to happen. And I think with CM Punk, it's going to be interesting if he came into WWE, but he's not going to make or break them. He wouldn't be as important to WWE as he was to AEW. And I think if he did come in there, that behavior just would not be tolerated, and he would have to know that going forward. So that's a big if there. But I did want to apologize for missing a couple of those yesterday. Max Pokebra, appreciate the $2. Just got back from Georgia. Just take that midnight train. I hope you did. Good timing. Glad you were here, Max. Thanks for being here. Good to see the Juliet in here. Anybody else that's chiming in, like channel members and whatnot, good to see you. Like Dr. Cringe Magnet Punk, Dr. Pepe, Kid Gruesome, Punk Screwed Punk. A lot of people believe that, and it's hard to disagree with that. Absolutely. Sorry, I'm just trying to locate the... I thought I missed... Okay, maybe not. I really don't want to miss anybody else's because I thought I missed somebody yesterday, but okay. All right, we are good for the moment. Right on. Let's talk about last night's WWE Payback. I loved this show. This was such a good show, and it opened up so strong with the Trish versus Becky Lynch cage match, first ever cage match for Trish Stratus. And as I predicted on Thursday when we did our predictions, or I'm sorry, on Friday, my days have been all off all week. I apologize for that. On Friday, when we came up here and did predictions, I said that I predict that Trish and Becky will have something to prove. Trish and Becky are going to go out there and try to have the best match they can and show Triple H what an idiot he was for bumping them from SummerSlam. And I know Triple H likes to say, well, the match was never announced, so it wasn't bumped. Shut up, Triple H. It was bumped. It absolutely was planned for SummerSlam. You know it was. Don't be silly. And you guys decided not to put it on the card. Pissed off both women, Becky with the lemonade and all that shit. She was all mad, butthurt about it. So now they have a chance to make it right on Payback. They're opening the show here. And I got to say, I don't think this cage match could have gone better. It was so good. Everything was crisp. There was no clunkiness and sloppiness that sometimes you can get with women's matches, especially in stip matches. This was all just really, really excellent. And I think I'm going to have to go back and watch the match from 2019. Was it 2018 or 2019 when Trish faced Charlotte at SummerSlam. I remember thinking that match was really good, and the whole Becky and Trish build all summer, and the matches and the things that they've done just has been extremely underwhelming and not that interesting at all. So they saved it. They saved this feud, and they can be proud because this was a great match, and I dare say it might even be better than Trish and Charlotte at SummerSlam. This was so good, and they beat the hell out of each other. Right off the bat, Trish had a big-ass knot on her head. I don't know if she got rammed into the cage or where that happened, but big knot right on her forehead early. So Trish is already banged up. There were a lot of callbacks to the Attitude Era. Women's division, we had Trish hitting a Widow's Peak on Becky, and we had Becky hitting a Twist of Fate on Trish, and Victoria and Lita, I think, were in the first ever women's cage match or something on Raw, so it was a little throwback to that. That was very cool. My favorite spot that made me, I was watching it maybe about 1:30 in the morning when I finally saw this last night, and I yelled out in my house in the middle of the night when they did the spot on top of the cage where Trish's legs kind of get, hooked in the rigging there, and she violently falls backwards and just flops backwards, and she's hanging upside down, and you even hear Corey Graves going, "Whoa!" And I'm just glad her feet were hooked in there. Like the way she was hanging upside down, that was such a crazy spot. And then Becky was able to pull her back in, and they delivered a huge superplex spot, which was just insane. That whole sequence was fantastic. And, like I said, all of the moves, they were just hitting them. It was just funny how everything was hitting. And wrestlers talk about that, in podcasts and interviews and in books. You sometimes just have these nights where everything clicks. And you have these nights where nothing clicks. But this was one of those instances where everything was clicking. I was so proud of these girls. Man, this was so good. Now, of course, we were going to get Zoe Stark involved. She comes in because the rules here, you can escape the cage as well. And she gets involved. She breaks up a manhandle slam pin. I think when they had the door open, she was able to scurry in there. And Becky hits Trish with an awesome-looking manhandle slam that really just folds her up. And Zoe came in and broke up that pin. Becky's able to fight off Zoe as Trish is trying to climb out. She chases Trish up the cage, stops her from escaping, and then hits her with a top rope super manhandle slam from the top, putting Trish down, covering her, rolling her up beautifully, and pinning her for the win. It was so good. Trish took some gnarly bumps. Every time she fell or took a manhandle slam or whatever, she just folded up like an accordion. It was so good. I was just so proud of the physicality in this match. And I mentioned in my predictions, I was kind of asking Triple H, come on, have some color for the women. Why not? Don't be a pussy. Just do it. Just do it. I'm happy to say that this match didn't need it because Kevin Owens, we could get a whole lot of it later. But I was hoping that maybe we would just see some blood here just to add a little bit of something and grittiness to this. But it honestly didn't need it. These women beat the shit out of each other so much that I didn't care that we didn't have blood in a cage match because you really did not need it. Now, after the match, after Becky wins and pins Trish, they do the angle where Trish and Zoe argue. And this is a very formulaic kind of thing that they do, especially when you're using a legend to get somebody some rub, and then they kind of break up at the end. And this whole thing felt like it might be Trish's goodbye, at least for a while. But Trish and Zoe begin to argue. Zoe did everything she could to try to help Trish win. And then Trish slaps her across the face. And then Zoe looks like she's sad and she's going to leave the ring sad. She walks over the cage door and just shuts it. I'm like, oh shit. And then she comes in, hits the Z360 finisher thing on Trish, lays her out, pulls off the thank you Trish shirt, throws it down. And Zoe now is moved on from Trish, maybe turning babyface there in the process. And Trish got a nice thank you Trish chant from the audience when we were all watching a commercial break or something like that. Trish got some love from the audience. And if this is Trish's final match ever, I kind of feel like it's not going to be because they haven't really been lending any hints to that this is going to be her final match. But if it is, I'm very satisfied. As a Trish Stratus fan, I've always said Trish is my favorite women's wrestler of all time. What she has done this year in 2023 has done a little bit to tarnish that feeling. It really has. I have not been interested in anything she's done when she came back from her WrestleMania match and the stuff she was doing with Becky and Lita. None of that was interesting to me. I love Trish, love seeing her, Love seeing her beautiful face. Love it. But nothing that she was doing from a storyline perspective was really getting my juices flowing. You know what I mean? So I think Trish and Becky deserve a lot of credit for taking a mediocre feud and finishing it as strong as anybody could ever imagine finishing it. And it saved it. It saved it. They went out there last night and they saved their program. Props to them. Props to them. And if this is now, and that's another positive thing I've been saying about this whole thing. Yeah, we might have our problems with the Trish and Becky feud and how it's been underwhelming, but one thing I am happy about is how it's helped Zoe Stark, because Zoe has gotten the Trish rub, being associated with a Hall of Famer and a main eventer, getting that rub from them. And this is going to be, a stepping stone for her. And with the angle they ran at the end of the match, I've always been a big Zoe Stark fan. I just think she's phenomenal, just a little badass pit bull. And they should push her. Where's Xia Li? Something like Xia Li is another one. Like Xia Li and Zoe Stark, these women should be beating the hell out of everybody. So the fact that they are giving Zoe a little bit of a push beyond this is good. I don't know if now Trish returns to TV or if she's off TV for a while. It felt like that's going to be her last time we see her, at least for a little bit. Maybe she returns at the Rumble and does a retirement match next year. We don't know. But now I guess maybe Becky and Zoe might have one more confrontation on Raw, maybe shake hands and, agree to let bygones be bygones. I don't know. Or maybe Trish comes out and then we get Zoe and a Trish match perhaps, or maybe we get Becky and Zoe against Trish and somebody else. I don't know. Lita never even got her revenge on Trish for attacking her either, I don't think. So maybe they can revisit all this down the line. But if this is the end of it for now, I think they did a phenomenal job in that cage match last night. Well done. Well done. John Cena came out next. He's great. Great to see Cena back. And he comes out to the ring. He's wearing his powder blue this time. And he says that he's going to be the special guest referee for the Miz and LA Knight match, which is coming up later on. The Miz winds up coming out. He gets pissed. He lays in some funny digs on John Cena about the Barbie movie and some other stuff. Miz and Cena have always had a funny relationship. And John Cena even acknowledged that Miz had some good burns. He goes, okay, that's a good one. That's why I love John Cena. John Cena just so happens to have his ref shirt with him, pulls it out, and Miz goes, no. And Cena goes, yeah, no, yeah. And then Cena points to the aisle, and LA Knight music hits. Crowd pops as loud as they popped for Cena. Go back and rewind Payback. When Cena comes out, listen to that pop. When LA Knight comes out, listen to that pop. Put them side by side. It's the same fucking pop, man. So LA Knight's over. You cannot deny that. So LA Knight comes out, and we're getting that match right now. LA Knight versus The Miz. Cena does call this one down the middle. Not only is he pulling The Miz off of LA Knight during rope breaks and whatnot, he does the same thing to LA Knight. And LA Knight and Cena kind of get in each other's face, maybe teasing that LA Knight and Cena is a match that might actually happen. It's just, if you're trying to build LA Knight into the next big top babyface, I don't know if a match with Cena is really the way to accomplish that. Maybe just an alliance or an association with him is a better way to do it. And that's kind of what the whole point is here, I think, of Cena being the referee in this thing. So Miz and Cena begin arguing later on. And Miz is able to hit LA Knight with the skull-crushing finale, which LA Knight kicks out of, and he's able to recover, get Miz on the ropes, and hit the BFT FTW. I think you guys know what that means. So LA Knight gets the win there, beats the Miz with John Cena as the referee. As he's leaving with John Cena in the aisleway, Cena wants to shake hands with LA Knight kind of over by the entranceway as they're leaving. And LA Knight's like, oh, you almost cost me that match, man. Now you want me to shake your hand or whatever? And Cena's like, come on, man, just be a man, just do it. And LA Knight's like, all right, fair enough or whatever. And he shakes his hand, and that's quite the endorsement from John Cena. I think this is WWE's way of really testing if LA Knight is ready for the popularity that the fans are showing him. WWE is giving him a lot of rubs right now. Especially with John Cena, and John Cena being on TV for the next several weeks means that this will probably continue, and who knows, maybe we will get some sort of a match or a tag match. Probably what they'll do is LA Knight and Cena maybe against Miz and Austin Theory or something like that, or Grayson Waller and Austin Theory might be good. I don't know, but Cena and LA Knight, that's quite the team. Look forward to seeing more of them on TV going forward on SmackDown. I think it's, help me out here, is it this Friday, right? Because of all of John Cena's SmackDown appearances, there's 1 week missing, and it's this coming Friday. And I think that's because it's the date of the Superstar Spectacle, which means they're probably taping SmackDown. I'm sorry I didn't look any of this up, but you guys can let me know in the chat. They're probably going to tape this week's SmackDown because they're going to India to do the Spectacle thing, which was supposed to have a tag team championship defense by Owens and Zayn on that show against Indus Sher, which is not going to be happening now. But yeah, so I guess that's why Cena is missing this one, because they're probably going to tape some shit for SmackDown, I guess, on Friday. I haven't really looked into what WWE's plans are for the week. After that, we had, where did I go? Oh, yeah, we had Rey Mysterio defending his United States Championship against Austin Theory. This match was not much to look at. I kind of skimmed through it because I wasn't expecting Austin Theory to win the belt back right after they did the right thing by taking it off of him to begin with and putting it on Rey. Seems like they got a really slow burn here going on with Rey and Santos Escobar. Something's going to happen there between those two guys eventually, and we're going to get a feud or whatnot between those two. And I didn't see putting the belt on Austin Theory here as being really something they were going to do. Rey wound up winning with a roll-up and retained the title. Did like Rey's gear. He celebrated with the LWO at the end of the match, and that was that. So Rey Mysterio retains over Austin Theory. Backstage, we get Becky, sore, battered, and broken from her cage match, being interviewed by Kathy Kelly, and she's approached by Tiffany Stratton, who was hanging around in the crowd. She, of course, is the NXT champion, and this was pretty good. She apologized to Becky. She was, I just want to apologize because I guess on NXT this past week or recently, she was saying that she's going to be greater than all of the former NXT women's champions, like Charlotte and Asuka, and she started running through names, and she named Becky Lynch. But apparently, fans let her know that Becky Lynch never was NXT Women's Champion. She wasn't, was she? So I think it was probably a real botch that they used to bring to TV. Like Tiffany Stratton probably actually did say Becky Lynch's name on accident, but then they took it and ran with it. And now she approaches Becky during her interview and says, you know what? I'm so sorry. I forgot. You never were the champion. You never were the NXT Women's Champion. And I just want to apologize for lumping you in with all those other great women that who accomplished something that you never did. That was pretty funny. And you have to wonder why they did that. I think there is a really good chance that Becky Lynch is going to win the NXT title. I do. Charlotte won it, right? She went back there and won it. Becky never got a chance to win it even when she was in NXT. That's probably a feather in her cap. We've seen Judgment Day. We've seen Seth Rollins recently. We've seen a lot of people appear on NXT from the main roster. This would not be out of the norm. We saw New Day show up there. Didn't New Day win the tag team titles in NXT, didn't they? So we've seen a lot of this kind of lately within the last year or so, or less. And the fact that they set all of this up here, I can totally see Becky Lynch winning the NXT title. Does she need it? No, but she adds star power to that NXT show, and I think that's been helping their ratings, having some influences from the main roster pop in and out of there, for feuds or whatnot, and to have Becky work a program with Tiffany Stratton. Oh no, don't have Becky beat Tiffany and she'll be buried. Becky's going to have to lose the belt back. Becky's not going to go there, win the NXT title, and then just stay in NXT, much like Dominic running around with the North American title. It's just temporary. Now, granted, I had predicted Dominic to drop it by now because I thought the whole point was for Judgment Day to have a bunch of belts after SummerSlam, with Finn being the world champion and Rhea and Dom with a belt and Damian with the briefcase, and you get this big photo op. That never happened, but now it can, because as we saw, as we'll see here in a minute, in the next match, Judgment Day brought home more gold. Now, each and every member of that Judgment Day faction has a title belt. So now they've gotten what they wanted out of Dominic. I think at any time now, he can drop that North American title back to Wesley or anybody else they want to in NXT. And if Becky were to beat Tiffany Stratton, all that means is that Tiffany Stratton is going to win the belt back from her. That's all that's going to mean. So fans like to get really mad, and I can already tell that if Becky starts a feud with Tiffany and then she beats her, fans are going to think like, did Tiffany wrong or something, and they're going to be too stupid to realize that no, bringing in a main eventer for Tiffany to work with gives her that rub, gives her that experience of somebody that has main evented a WrestleMania before, is a multi-time women's champion. Plus, it puts a feather in Becky's cap, gives her a championship she's never won before, and now gives Tiffany Stratton an opportunity to beat that legend. And I have no problem if that's what they decide to do, and I think they might, because Becky's got no one else to work with, at least at the moment, with Trish being gone. So maybe Becky takes a week or so to catch her breath, and then next thing you know, there's some other interaction between Becky and Tiffany. Becky even said, I might be seeing you around, so that tells me that Becky is going to make an appearance at the PC one of these Tuesdays and get in Tiffany Stratton's face, and whatever the next pay-per-view on the calendar is for NXT, that'll be where your Becky and Tiffany Stratton match is. I'll bet you anything. After that, probably, I don't know. I don't even know if I can judge a favorite here. I think I'm inclined to give the nod to Trish and Becky. I thought that was a phenomenal cage match. Absolutely loved it. But this Steel City Street Fight for the Tag Team Championships was insane. Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens defending their Tag Team Championships against Damian Priest and Finn Balor. I predicted this completely wrong. I thought for sure we'd have some JD McDonough interference here. He'd fuck up because Priest and Balor already have some dissension as it is. I didn't feel like this would be the pay-per-view where Owens and Zayn, who won the championships in the main event of WrestleMania, I didn't feel like this would be where they would lose them. But I'm happy that I was wrong, because all this was really good. Of course, this was a Steel City Street Fight, which meant you can do whatever you wanted. And they did. They beat the hell out of each other. Match, of course, begins in the ring. Outside the ring, we've got chairs, we got tables falling apart, all sorts of shit happening. Kevin Owens takes off his shirt to reveal a Terry Funk shirt underneath. We get Dominic showing up out there early. He's running around there. And then as they're brawling into the crowd, that's when Dominic shows up, actually. Priest and Balor are brawling with Owens and Zayn, kind of over where the production equipment is. And then Dominic shows up and helps Priest and Balor chuck Owens and Zayn like over this barricade into this production area, and then the camera just kind of leaves that area and focuses on the Judgment Day. You've got Balor and Priest and Dominic. They got their arms around each other. They're talking strategy, and there's a lot of time going by. So I'm like, okay, Owens and Zayn are up to something off camera. You just don't know what it is. And Balor's like, okay, let's just go get him and throw him in the ring and pin him or whatever. And as they turn around, Owens and Zayn are standing there in Pittsburgh Penguins hockey jerseys and hockey sticks. One of them, I forget which is which. I know one's wearing Mario Lemieux and the other's wearing Sidney Crosby. And Owens, for some reason, has got a crimson mask on his face. He is covered in blood. I don't know where this happened. I don't know if he got the okay to bleed in honor of Terry Funk, or if he tried to hide it and pass it off as hard way. I don't know what was going on there with the blood. It was nice to see it, but I think there's a no blading policy in WWE. So that means it was either hard way or there was no cameras on Owens when he did it, and he can just tell management, oh, it was hard way or whatever. What can they do to you, So it might have been a way for them to make good on the embarrassing Terry Funk hardcore match they had on SmackDown, during the Terry Funk tribute show where there was like one table used. This time, if you're going to get hardcore and you're going to tribute Terry Funk with a shirt, you better bleed. So I'm curious if Owens got permission to do that or if he did it on his own. I don't know, but it was good to see him all bloody. They've got hockey sticks. They got the jerseys. They start beating the hell out of everybody. Everybody finds themselves back in the ringside area. Balor was taking some bumps on like a bed of steel chairs in the ring, and his back was just so marked up and cut up from some of those early bumps he was taking in the ring. But before they got back to the ring, by the way, Owens and Zayn show up with the hockey jerseys. They start beating the hell out of each other, or beating the hell out of their opponents, and they grab Dominic and they get him over to one of those like little entrance tunnels there, and they put Dominic on a table, or Kevin Owens does anyway. And you knew what they were going to do. Dominic's laying there on a table. The balcony's right up there. So then Kevin Owens climbs up the crowd, goes to the balcony. It's a lot like the swanton that we've seen from Jeff Hardy at the Royal Rumble that year, onto the table, onto Bubba, and a few other spots that were similar to this. Dominic's on the table, and Kevin Owens just dives off with just an amazing swanton, and he floats down, and he damn near misses. 70% of his body landed on the floor, and very little of him landed on Dominic. But the table did break. Dominic went down, and I think one little thing I noticed here, Kevin Owens, when he took that bump, he landed so hard, and the very first thing he did when he hit is he turned his head around to check on Dominic. He just made sure, like, bro, everybody landed okay, but he was in pain. That had to have been such a crazy, painful bump. It was nuts. He nearly missed, but it was still a good spot. So JD McDonough would wind up showing up later. He saved a pin on Damian Priest, who was about to lose. Owens then wipes JD out, Owens wipes JD out, and then as Owens is on the outside of the ring, Ripley shows up. Rhea Ripley shows up and comes running and spears Kevin Owens right through the barricade. Great spot right there by the timekeeper's area, the same spot they do every one of these bumps. Seems like that barricade always breaks in the same spot. Isn't that weird? So she spears Owens, takes him out. Sami Zayn has got Balor isolated in the ring. Everybody's taken out now. JD's taken out, and we don't know where the hell Damian Priest is. Owens is laid waste, and now it's Sami Zayn and Balor in the ring. Sami Zayn's got Balor all to himself. He's got him in the corner, lines him up for a devastating haluva kick. Down goes Balor. Zayn jumps on top of him to pin. 1, 2, 3. Dominic comes in with the Money in the Bank briefcase, bashes Sami on the head, and Balor is able just to roll him up and just kind of contort his body on top of him. Referee counts 1, 2, 3. New tag team champions. Great match, great match, great match. So much fun. About as hardcore of a match as you can expect to see from WWE. It wasn't quite as violent as Stadium Stampede, but I think just as good. This was really fun, and I wasn't expecting to see a tag team title change here, but the fact that we did is fine. I'm actually cool with it. Now it gives Judgment Day all the gold, and they're looking pretty good. So big win for Judgment Day. They're going to have a lot to say on Monday, I'm sure, tomorrow night. By the way, I will not be here for a Raw review tomorrow night. We'll be missing it. So hopefully the Labor Day Raw will be good, and I'm sure Judgment Day will be dripping in gold when we get to Monday Night Raw tomorrow. Congratulations to them, and hopefully we will see now what the future is with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Maybe they get another tag team title shot here. Maybe they win the belts back. Who knows? But Sami Zayn might have another friend joining him, as next on Payback, we had Cody Rhodes on the Grayson Waller effect. Now, this was really interesting. Cody was out there on the talk show, calls Grayson something like a freshly minted graduate of hip toss class or something like that. Pretty funny stuff. But then Cody goes on to reveal that he cashed in all of the political chips he had, called in all the favors he could to make something happen, and he's got a blockbuster announcement for the fans, and he was able to bring a big superstar to Monday Night Raw, and he introduces Jey Uso. Jey Uso, main event Jey, comes out. He is now a part of the Raw roster. Cody welcomes him, which is kind of interesting because Jey did play a role too in Cody's loss at WrestleMania, and Cody introduces him. He leaves the ring. Waller gets on the mic, starts talking some shit, and eats a super kick. So this is perfect. This is exactly what I recommended or suggested or pitched for Jey the very same night that he quit on SmackDown. I just said, move him to Raw. Because we heard about the kind of internal reports that WWE might be planning Jey and Jimmy at WrestleMania. There's no way you can get to that. You can wait that long with those two unless you separate them or keep them off TV or something. And so when Jey quit, a lot of fans were like, oh, he'll just take off the rest of the year. Why? He's healthy. Why would he take off the rest of the year? Just move him to Raw. So that's what they did. He's on Raw now, and I think that could be really interesting with the relationship with Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn. Maybe Zayn and Jey get a tag team title shot. What if Zayn and Jey win the titles from Priest and Balor or something? Like, maybe not like Zayn necessarily ditching Owens in favor of Jey. Just maybe something happens. Maybe Owens is taken out and they got a tag team. Oh yeah, that's what you do. You just do a tag team title rematch. tag team title rematch on Raw or wherever the fuck. And then before the match, Judgment Day attacks Kevin Owens. He's out. He's laid out. Well, Sammy's like, I'll replace him with Jay. And then Sammy and Jey Uso go out there and win the tag team championships. And now Owens, who already had a problem with Sammy trying to befriend Jay and continuing to have feelings for him during all that stuff earlier this year, might even piss him off a little bit more and make him uneasy and add to issues or problems with Sammy and Owens' relationship. We don't know. But Jay now being there, he could jump into the tag team scene with Sammy, or he could be main event Jay and actually contend for a world championship. Maybe take on Gunther. Who knows? Jey Uso on Raw should be interesting. And they did the same thing. I mean, this is kind of what they did with Dominic and Rey, right? It was a way to kill some time to get to their WrestleMania match. So they had Rey moved to SmackDown, or he quit or something. And then Triple H was like, let's talk first. And then Rey went to SmackDown, and then Dominic just followed him there and tormented him. So you can still have Jay and Jimmy interactions, but with Jay on Raw, they will be a lot less. And you can even, kind of hold them off. Now, a few people brought up a good point about Cody as well, is these political chips that he talked about cashing in, these favors, and him being able to pull some strings here and get Jay to Raw. Will they use this as a way for him then to come around and get that favor repaid? Like if he needs a favor from Jay or however they figure this out, this could be your vehicle to get Cody to SmackDown. If the plan is still to do, which I feel like it is, if the plan is to do Cody and Roman at WrestleMania 40, then Cody has to get over there somehow. He either has to win the Royal Rumble and challenge, or get over on SmackDown another way. And maybe what they did here with Jey Uso is a way to get him over there later on down the road. We will see. But I wouldn't be surprised, since Cody was the one that they used to get Jay in, if this is going to be the beginning of Cody's trek back to Roman Reigns on SmackDown. Because right now, Cody still doesn't have a whole lot going on the Monday Night Raw brand. I think he's going to join up with Jey Uso, Owens, and Zayn to be battling the Judgment Day, I guess, for the next couple of months until they get to War Games, which means we're going to have more like 12 more weeks of the very same exact Monday Night Raw main event that we get every week. We'll see if that finally gets old with fans or not. But welcome to Monday Night Raw, Jey Uso. After that, we had Rhea Ripley defending against Raquel Rodriguez. These women had some barn burners in NXT. They did not have one here. They came nowhere close to reaching the level that Trish and Becky did in the opener. Pretty long match, too, in the end. Rhea would win. She gets some help from Dominic, who hits the ring. He gets power slammed by Raquel, which was pretty good. But in the end, Rhea is able to hit the Riptide on Raquel and get the win there and retain her title. And I've been wanting, Raquel to have a meaner streak to her. I loved their match in NXT. And Raquel is the one that sent Rhea back into the main roster, right? That Falls Count Anywhere, no DQ, hardcore match that the two of them had. That was great in NXT. This one, not so much, but I still feel like they can continue here, and maybe they can have a program here that gets saved with some kick-ass match, much like Becky and Trish saved their program. We will have to see. John Cena was having all kinds of fun last night at the pay-per-view, channeling his inner Lance Catamaran to do a backstage interview with a little tie on and a little suit, and he had his armbands over the suit. And he was even crouched down. Did you see how short he looked next to Finn Balor? Because the women always take off their shoes so they can be shorter, and a lot of times announcers crouch so they can appear smaller than the wrestlers. Excellent touch by John Cena, kneeling down or crouching, because there's no way John Cena's 5'8". He's just not. So that was pretty funny. Loved that, interviewing the new tag team champions, and he really seemed to be starstruck by those guys, and it was a really fun segment. Just good to see Cena back. And that leaves us with our main event. Not much to say about this one either. Seth Rollins defending the World Heavyweight title against Shinsuke Nakamura. The one cool thing I did like about this match was the entrance. Nakamura got this really great, animated entrance type of deal, this video entrance, special entrance. He came out second because of that. Seth was out first. Shinsuke gets this really cool entrance, which I liked. And the match was good, but the match was really nothing special. It was just really good work, as you would expect to see from these two guys who've worked countless times in the past. I've seen these guys wrestle before as well, one-on-one back at Survivor Series a few years back. So they're very familiar with each other. I think at the end of the day, Nakamura was put in front of Seth to give Seth somebody to beat because he's not really it's not really in the plans right now for him to drop that title, so he needs some credible opponents to work with in the meantime. Nakamura was one of them. I thought the way they were setting this whole thing up, that we were going to get a program here, but as we saw, Seth basically won clean with a stomp right in the middle of the ring and pinned Shinsuke Nakamura, so I don't know even how you do another match. Most of the time, matches aren't one and done, but this time it might actually be one and done with Seth and Nakamura. We will see what they try to do, or if they try to continue anything with these guys on Monday. But if they don't, it feels like Seth's going to need something to do. Nakamura's going to need something to do. Cody's going to need something to do. Jey Uso is there. Anything can happen tomorrow night on Raw. Anything. I guess they can move in any direction they want tomorrow night. So that was your Payback in a nutshell. I loved the show. I enjoyed watching it late at night last night and taking it all in. And like I said, that tag team title match and that women's cage match was phenomenal. Really set the show apart and made the show good, because Nakamura and Seth was good, but nothing special. Rhea Ripley and Raquel was okay, but nothing special. But those other, and same with Rey and Austin Theory. But the tag match, the cage match, John Cena's appearance, Jey Uso, all that stuff really made this a fun pay-per-view. Good job from the boys and girls in WWE last night. I'll cruise over here to the chat, knock out any super chats that we have, and then I'm going to take a little 2-hour break, or actually probably like an hour and a half break, have some lunch, and we're going to be back up here again for what is it? Say it out loud. Watch Partay. Watch Partay. Join us later tonight. All out. It's going to be fun. Let's cruise. Chatting. See what we got here. I'm going to cruise all the way up and make sure I knock out the supers that I missed, and I don't miss anybody else because I feel sad when I miss you guys. All right. Who's next? I've got... Where are we at? I lost it. Chris Ludek, there's my friend. Good to see you, man. Appreciate that $5 from you earlier on. Hey, Greg, so I got the new job, and it's a $50K bump, so I'm moving to Marina Del Rey. Right on. That's a nice little, hefty little bump. That's nice. Congrats to you, Chris. I am very happy to hear that. That's also always nice when you can get a nice big pay increase with a new job. Right on, Chris. Congratulations to you. Spaz Phoenix, thank you for 10, man. Twitter is more entertaining this weekend than SmackDown, Collision, Payback, or All Out. I kind of agree with that. Cheap plug, look for my Payback review going up sometime tomorrow. Cheers, Greg, in the chat. Cheers to you, Spaz. Stop by and hang out with us tonight, too, when we're watching All Out. 2 more from Spaz. Miz, Cena are an underrated pairing. They're great. And I feel like what I liked about Cena, just acknowledging Mrs. Burns. Okay, that was pretty good. You know, they go way back. They main evented a WrestleMania together. So the fact that they can kind of have fun together and play off their history a little bit, I like that stuff. I like the lighthearted stuff. I like it when people can kind of go out there and have a little bit of fun. And I think that's something that wrestling fans really, really need right now, because we've had a lot of bad news. It's been a bad couple of weeks. You know, Bray Wyatt passing away and was awful. And then the CM Punk controversy. And everything should be happy right now. We got 2 wrestling companies kicking ass. Last night was a great pay-per-view. Tonight's probably going to be a great pay-per-view. AEW set records last week, but instead we're talking about a lot of negative things rather than positive. So to see John Cena out there having a good time, goofing off, is something that we need. Maybe we'll see a little bit more goofing off tonight on All Out. But sorry to wrap this up and keep it short, but I want to take a little bit of a break here. We will be back live at about 10 minutes before the main card starts, so that'll be about 7:50 Eastern, 4:50 here on the East Coast. We'll be back live. We're going to hang out. I got to run out to the store and get some frosty beverages. I got no beer to drink, so I'm going to go do that too. Grab a sandwich, and then I'll be back for AEW All Out. Thank you so much for being here with me this afternoon, guys. Please hit that thumbs up button on your way out the door if you don't mind, and if you're not subscribed, please do that too, and I will catch you guys in just a little bit for AEW All